Gang, gang, hey, nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part, this upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey there everybody, Meteorologist Tuttle with you. It is noontime here on your Monday. This will be your live weather update for the remainder of this afternoon and evening, as severe weather is going to be making its way across parts of Oklahoma and into Texas and points eastward after that as we head into the overnight hours. You've come to the right place. Make sure you like and share this video on whichever platform you're on. It could be Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. We'll just keep adding more and more. It's like, come on. We're going to do this pretty quick. I got about 10 minutes. I got another meeting, so I'm going to have to get on with the program here and not procrastinate. So out there currently we got a lot of clouds, of course, here in Oklahoma City. We've had some rainfall overnight. Tonight, temperatures right around 56 degrees here in my backyard. Haven't had any significant raindrops here over the last several hours. Unfortunately, most of it keeps missing my house. I'm so bummed about that, but we do have more rain to come. If you do look at the radar view right now, there are some showers, even some thunderstorms out here in eastern Oklahoma. None of these are severe, though. Just some good rainfall amounts there. Same through around Shawnee, southwestern Norman, down toward Fletcher and Lawton, and then some heavier thunderstorm activity with some water covering the roadway down here around Ada this morning. About 4 inches of water covering some of the roads. So we did mention the potential for some flash flooding in some of these events. There is one severe thunderstorm down here near the Ardmore area. This particular storm has golf ball size hail with it and is moving to the east. So it'll be affecting you guys down here in southern Oklahoma over the next few minutes. So just kind of keep that in mind. This will be the trend as we head to the afternoon, as more of these showers and storms scattered in nature, and then some severe weather, but mainly across these southern parts of the state. By the way, we did see some pretty decent rainfall out there with this event. If we do look up here across Oklahoma City metro area, down around the Norman region, we saw some amounts up to about 10 inches of rain here from Norman to the west side, split in the highways and the interstates. If you head out east from there around Purcell, there's a lot of 1 to maybe even 2 inches of rain between there and Macomb. Shawnee, also kind of just south and east side of town. Also some pockets of some heavy rainfall hit you guys overnight and today. Wetumpka, also another hard-hit area. So you can see that kind of runs right along the I-40 corridor, east and west, with the favorite area just on the south end of that. We did see some scattered areas of some decent rain, though, here across parts of Oklahoma City. There's an inch there on the north side of town. Unfortunately, not my side of town. And there's some rain up from Tulsa and points north and east, but becomes much more scattered in nature. But you can see definitely where the heaviest fell with this particular event so far. All right, so now let's move along. So there's the big picture of how the rain did fall across the state. So some lighter amounts to the west and south and also up to the north and east. We'll get more of that here for today. By the way, temperatures out there into the 50s in the rain-cooled air. Plus, we also have a cold front to talk about. As you can imagine, the front looks something like this, right? Because that's where they got the warmer 70s down here and the cool 60s and 50s back behind it. We do look at the wind within this. You can really help to pinpoint out where the front is residing, and it's kind of a we really call it a stationary front. So when you draw it in meteorology, you kind of have to switch the colors. What this really typically means is that yes, it is stationary or even kind of wavy, which means it's not going to move a whole lot today, at least at the beginning stages, because it's going to be anchored to an area of low pressure down here near Wichita Falls. And so that'll kind of keep the focus for our severe weather along this boundary, and then points down here into southern Oklahoma, and the rest, of course, into North Texas. We're going to get to that detail here as we speak. So here's a look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook. So there is a enhanced risk of severe weather across the northern parts of Texas, including Dallas-Fort Worth and Tyler, Longview on into the northern half of Louisiana, and that brown area here is for the tornadoes. And the hail is out here to the west, higher amounts, or bigger amounts, probably more widespread, just on the west side of Dallas, and then into parts of west central Texas. And then out here, as far as Dallas points east, the red area with the hatched zone indicates a lot more pockets of damaging wind. So that's kind of the big picture. Here in Oklahoma, of course, our fine-tuned area is down here from around Lawton to about Ada, and then points down south along the Red River. For threat of a tornado is low, but I do expect to see one down here in this region. I'll talk about that here in a minute. Otherwise, winds around 60, 80 miles per hour, and the hail could be quite large. Most of the data I've seen is going to be a lot of golf ball size hail along the Red River and points southward, but there are going to be a few stones in there that get pretty big. Slight risk also extends down south here to far southeastern southern Oklahoma. And timing on this is for the afternoon and evening hours across this region here. Okay, let's talk about the upper levels of the storm system, and this little guy right here is kind of the back end of it. So it's what's going to swing through and take all this moisture and instability along with it here in the water vapor channel. When we do look at the close down view, about 700 millibars, we can find out where the max lift is. The brighter the colors, the stronger the lift, and you can see how that's kind of anchored here across Oklahoma for today. But as we head into the evening hours, look how it's centered across the Red River on down south into North Texas. And if I were to do a point forecast sounding, I'm going to show you what happens with that lift when you look at a forecast sounding. You see all these little lines? This is all vertical velocities. We call it omega. And when you see a lot of these, that's a ton of lift, right? So that means that when you have a saturated profile, which is the red line and the green line come together as the balloon goes up in the height. This is from a balloon forecast sounding, but it's just taking the model data forward in time. But when these two on a vertical profile like this are pretty close to one another, that means the atmosphere is saturated. So in this particular case, with all that lift, it means rain. Now, the reason I want to show you that is I'm going to show you what happens when you have lift without moisture. Okay, so meanwhile, the evening hours, you can see how most of this cranks into North Texas, southeast Oklahoma by the midnight hour, and then pushing now into Arkansas overnight, into northern Louisiana by daybreak tomorrow. And it's out of here. But watch what happens tomorrow. See this little lift right here? I'm going to pinpoint this little spot right here in eastern Texas Panhandle. It's a lot of lift. Well, it's going to mean rain with that. Oh, look what happens. Here's that little mega coming through, not nearly as strong, but look what happens. You see how far apart these lines are? This is the red temperature, green dew point. It's too far apart, no moisture here. So sorry, even when you have a lot of lift, doesn't always necessarily mean rainfall. But anyway, that was your little weather lesson 101 here for today. Okay, so let's move on forward. We got the dew points that are starting to surge out of Texas to the Red River. So here we go through this afternoon and evening. Putting the brakes on because they're going to run into that cold front. So from right around the Red River counties, points to the south, is where you have the best low-level moisture. And if we do zoom in, this is kind of the key element. You got to go to the mesoscale boundaries as we head into the time period for severe weather. So we're going to draw our, we'll call it a warm front here just to make it easy for time constraints, back into the region here with our little area of low pressure. And then you got the moving part of the cold front kind of in this region as cold air wraps around back behind it. But you get into the warm sector here, which is the unstable, uncapped sector of showers and storm activity, and those can sometimes ride along the warm frontal boundary. And if they do, if they can get anchored across this little zone here, so I like this little spot on the Red River to right where the front is for ideal location for a tornado here in southern Oklahoma for this later this afternoon and evening, so probably 6 o'clock, somewhere in that time frame, give or take an hour. That's where I'm focused on a potential tornado here in Oklahoma. Okay, so as we head on into the best shear and cape, like I said, it just kind of makes its way into the southern sections of Oklahoma. Otherwise, much better instability and cape values out here across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where there is going to be a tornado threat is there as well. So if you do live in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, not only have to deal with a little bit of hail, a little bit of wind, but also the probably probability of a couple of tornadoes in and around the area. When you do look at the best significant tornado parameter, you can see how it really cranks up down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth zone. If I were to do a forecast sounding here, I think this is in northern Tarrant County, just for an example. It shows you if you could pick a sweet spot where the best things come together, if things were to come out just right, a PDS type tornado, which indicates a significant tornado with the strength greater than an EF2, maybe an EF3, with some of the parameters and indices that come in with the shear over 400 meters per second squared. So keep in mind, you might have to deal with that down there in the Dallas area. Okay, and that's going to be for this afternoon and evening, late afternoon, early evening. Okay, so here's a look at how the rainfall continues. So we got the scattered showers and thunderstorms here across Oklahoma this afternoon. So there's 4 o'clock, here's 5 o'clock. Now this is where that sweet spot lies, like I mentioned, down here along the Red River near the Ardmore region. And the models really like this little supercell type structure with the helicity tracks. That's why I'm thinking, again, this is kind of in a favored zone with all the other surface parameters that we might see a tornado down here in southern Oklahoma in this particular region. So just kind of keep your heads up. Otherwise, you can see more storms develop down there in Texas, and those will move through northern Texas during the evening hours and overnight in the form of kind of a scattered shower and storm environment with some supercells and a squall line will form. That'll move on through, and by 3 o'clock in the morning, it's all out of Oklahoma. So I'm going to zoom in here for you, by the way, for North Texas. So at any point in time, we could see some showers and storms. The bulk of the squall line, though, won't move in probably until the latter part of the evening, so maybe about 10 o'clock, moving through Tarrant County. And you can have embedded supercells within this line. You can have QLCS tornadoes out ahead of the line. So just keep in mind, it's going to be a rough go there in North Texas overnight tonight, moving off to the east through Tyler, through the midnight hour to about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then et cetera, moving on into parts of central Texas from Waco to Lufkin, and then it kind of moves on out by tomorrow morning. All right, so the Texas Tech model, which I like to use during severe weather storm season, the new data was just coming in, so I want to take a look at it, and this is the 7 o'clock hour. And if you look, this data just came in, you and I are just now looking at it live. It also likes the idea of this little sweet spot down here in southern Oklahoma around the Ardmore region. So again, just stay alert down there. I'll be broadcasting live tornado coverage late this afternoon and evening for you guys down there in North Texas and southern Oklahoma. So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's see here. Did I want to look at this? I might have. What did I do here? I'm going to go back and look at what I was looking at. So we'll do this. So this data comes in. It's kind of a experimental run. So it only runs once a day, and it runs in the evening hours. But I wanted to see how well it did compared to the other data I was looking at. It also had some helicity tracks down here along the Red River through the early evening time frame. So that's another signal from a completely different model, different physics. So I'm really liking that zone down there for potential tornado today. All right, meanwhile, the significant tornado parameters we talked about is down along the Red River into North Texas. That's where their best ingredients are for going to be any tornadoes. We do talk about the wind threat, though, so some damaging winds. These are pockets here where the model tries to indicate that's on the table, and that's anywhere from 60 to 70. I think last night it was at pockets close to 80 miles per hour. And some of the bigger strong storms. Now we're going to see some decent rain here for today through tonight, especially down across southeastern Oklahoma and North Texas. This is a model blend. If we were to blend all the models together, including some of the global models, they won't handle the convective areas. So if we go to like a convective model, you can see how you can really get the downpours. You get some training effect, and that's like down here in this area, North Texas along the Red River. The only difference here is that this model keeps kind of shoving things south just a little bit more each time. It's also trying to dry things out in this little area in southeast Oklahoma, but it does have some pretty decent amounts with some potential flash flooding in parts of south central Oklahoma. So kind of keep that in mind. Here in the metro, we could get about another inch of rain out of this for some of you. Last thing to bring home for you to mention is that this is not an April Fool's joke, but this is an April map, which indicates the time we usually see our last freeze across Oklahoma. And so right about this time of the year is when we would see it for most of us on an average. Unfortunately, as we head into Saturday, take a look at this forecast map from the European model. We've got a lot of 30s out there across the state, so I do expect a light freeze and a frost in many areas, especially where you have a lot of drainage in the valley area. So if you do plant this week, or you planted over the weekend or last week or so, you're going to need to protect that sensitive vegetation. Temperatures over the next few days, obviously a little bit cooler once our next front comes in, which will be Tuesday night. So that'll drop us back into the 60s, or right around 60 for a high. Overnight lows getting back into the 40s, so a little shock to the system, I know. And Friday, again, very cold in the morning hours, and Saturday especially, so the model's really favoring Saturday as being the coldest morning of the two. But after that, woohoo, looking good, back into the 50s, near 60 for overnight lows. Daytime highs back to around 80 degrees in some cases. This is for Oklahoma City Extended. Your area will result may differ just a bit, so make sure you use my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It's free. It'll give you your forecast for your backyard. You can download it on Apple and Google Play. Just search for AT's Weather. And it will alert you for tornadoes that develop about 15 minutes before an actual warning comes out. So what that does is gives you extra time to prepare. And in springtime, hey, if I told you here's an extra 15 minutes to get all your kids and your pets into storm shelter, you know what I'm talking about. That's awesome. Okay, so that's it for me. I've run out of time. Got to get to my next meeting, but I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Appreciate the love on Facebook. I see the stars out there, so thank you for sending me your support in that manner. If you'd like to support me, click the video that you're watching right now. There'll be a description in there. You can look to many ways to support AT's Weather. Also, you can pick up a NOAA Weather Radio that I recommend. We talked about that last week. I've got mine programmed and ready to go. And I think that's going to be about it for today. All right, I will be back later this evening. I do expect to see a tornado here in southern Oklahoma, so I'll be doing a live broadcast for that. And then I will cover those tornadoes that develop since I'll be on the air probably around the North Texas area, just along the Red River and on the other side. If something looks like it'll go in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'll probably go ahead and cover that through the evening. Okay, that is it for me. You guys have a great rest of your afternoon, and thanks for checking in. We'll talk soon. Take care.